Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. Again, I'm not even going to do an intro for our guest because she's been on, the third time now. So after the third time, you really don't really need that much of an intro. I mean, we got Charley back on the podcast. She's coming to us again from the UK. She just got done competing in her last show. She's retiring now, so we're going to have a little conversation about that. And yeah, Charley, thank you so much for coming back on.
Yeah, no worries. I always love being on this podcast. It's been like 3 years running now, so I'm definitely not getting any younger.
Oh, believe me, you're talking to me. I'm starting to see some little things. I watched the first ever episode that I did a couple days ago, and that was like 5.5 years ago. And yeah, it's a completely. I might have to do like one of those videos where people take a picture every single day for like 10 years and then see how they're. I might have to do that with the podcast, just with my corner pick, and then just like see how it evolves over time.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? It's nuts how like life goes so quickly, and it literally feels like 2 minutes since our last one, but it's been like a whole year, which is crazy.
Well, an eventful year for you. You're done with bodybuilding now, but before we get into the retirement phase, what was this last year like? What were the competitions like? What was your prep like? What was basically everything like this last year?
Yeah, no, do you know what? It was a really good last year. I pretty much did a proper off season after my last show, which I've never done before. Like I've never had to do an off season. I've never been in a class where I've needed to be honest. But obviously, winning my pro card, I've needed to get bigger. So I actually stuck to an off season and pushed up more than I've ever pushed before, which I was not happy about. I told my coach so many times, like, I hate off season, and I still do. I don't think I could do another off season, which is why it's probably led me to retiring. But that went really, really well. And this prep, I had no injuries. However, in my last show, literally 3 days before when I was in Malaga, my knee flared up and I couldn't walk. And I was like, oh my days, is this God telling me not to compete? I don't know. But it wasn't an injury. So technically I'd say injury-free prep, really good off-season. And to be fair, I looked bigger and better than I've looked in any other year. So I was really, really happy with the package. My coach was really, really happy as well. And I'm sort of at that size now. And, how lean I got, I was actually satisfied. And I think that's hard to say when you're a bodybuilder because you're always looking at the next goal, the next goal, the next goal. But
well, that's when you know you need to retire, when you're finally satisfied with your look, because you should never be satisfied.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. And I think, I've done it for 7 years. Like a lot of people have said to me, like, I can't believe you're retiring because you're 28 years old. I'm like, you forget, like, I started at 21. I was a baby. I was such a baby. I was looking back at my old pictures and I was like, oh my days. Back when I started, shows weren't as big as what they are now. Not many people did it. My coach is proper big time now. Like he preps pretty much every girl on stage. Whereas when I started with him, I was one of his only girls in the class and he'd be cheering for me. So much has happened in the last 7 years. I've had, when I was looking at my stats, I posted my stats on Instagram. I've had a really good 7 years. Like, out of the 21 shows I've done, I've only not placed in 3, which going from an amateur to a pro is really good. Like, I'm really happy with that. And, I've seen bodybuilding change and evolve and grow. Like the federation, I'm a pro in, wasn't even around when I started. And it's like, yeah, it's come a long way. But yeah, in terms of the last show, really, really good. Competed internationally, competed in the UK. And yeah, it was a good year. I think the only downsides really was that I completely missed like the whole summer. So I started prepping May and I literally finished, 3 weeks ago? So, you miss sort of the best weather and stuff. Literally finished prep and now it's freezing in the UK. So brilliant. But apart from that, it was all good.
You people don't know what freezing is. I have to say this every single time. You guys have to bring that up. As you can tell, I'm starting to get a little clogged up myself just because it's that time of year where I'm going to be sick for basically, the next 2 months just because it's so damn cold outside. But you mentioned that, yeah, you probably brought your best package to date. How did you mix things up? Training, nutrition? How did you switch things up to bring that package up?
I think obviously the off season and pushing up, I gained some tissue in every area. And I was just really focusing on bringing up like everything a little bit more. So the goal really was to get a little bit bigger shoulders, a little bit smaller waist, a little bit bigger legs. And I must admit, I think out of all of the training, I think my legs was the biggest improvement. My legs look so much bigger, which obviously then made me look more like a silhouette. So I was really, really pleased with that. I think the only still the only thing is really like I struggle with is my hamstrings, but you know, you can see them at the end of the day. I just wish they were like proper big and juicy. That takes time. I feel like it's genetic, so it's just an excuse from me. Um, but yeah, training structure was pretty much the same split I did in prep as well. I think the main difference really was pushing up the food, which I didn't want to do. My body doesn't like gaining too much weight. You know, and I don't like gaining too much weight in general. So it was just so hard. And I think when you're not seeing yourself getting leaner, you're just seeing yourself getting bigger. That was the biggest mind. I want to swear there, but that was the biggest mind boggle I ever had, because I was like, I can't see the progress. And you know, anybody that thrives in off season and absolutely loves it, hats off to you, because I found it so much more difficult than actually dying in prep.
And at what part did you realize that this was going to be your last year? Was it something that you planned far ahead of time, or was it like halfway during prep where you're like, you know what, this might be it? Where were you at when you finally realized that, like, hey, this is my last time competing?
To be honest, I think it was last year. I think it was when I was doing my off season and I started it. It was towards the end, the last couple of months of off season, when we were going to start prep, and I got to that point where I thought, I can't do this again. Like, I don't want to keep getting bigger. I don't want to keep putting my body through this. Like, you know, I'm quite happy with the size that I am. And I also think as well, you know, a lot happened this year. One of my best friends got married. I was a bridesmaid. I was in prep at the wedding. She still had a beautiful day and it was amazing and I still really enjoyed it.
Okay, please tell me that they made you like sleeve up and stuff like that, because I didn't want you would be upstating the bride then. So I'm surprised they even invited you in the first place. Just be like, no, we don't want you there because it's going to be too much of a distraction.
Oh no, it's do you know what? No, it was amazing. My best friend's absolutely stunning. But yeah, the hardest thing was obviously couldn't drink. I had to prep my meals. I did a bridesmaid speech as well, which went really well.
I'm sorry for interrupting again, but not being able to drink at a wedding is probably the biggest crime that I've ever heard any competitors on this podcast do, because that seems almost impossible for me not to get drunk at a wedding, honestly.
Yeah. It was so hard, and I always explain bodybuilding like this. Like, when the light switches on for me, it doesn't matter if I'm ill, it doesn't matter if I'm tired, it doesn't matter what the weather's like outside. I just get it done. But literally, as soon as that light goes off and I've done the show, it's like I've never been a bodybuilder. Like, I snooze my alarm. I struggle getting up, and I struggle with this for a few weeks, and I'm still currently struggling now. Like I said, I had a few takeouts at the weekend, went for a few drinks, and I was like, right, I'm gonna get on it today. I'm gonna get back on plan. So it went well this morning. I did some cardio as well, so started off really well, and then I ended up having a mince pie. I had a cookie, and didn't get to the gym, and I was like, But the thing is, I don't know. I think it's just a transition. I think in a few weeks you're sort of like, I need that. I want to go to the gym, and I don't want to at the minute. Like, I feel like when it's been your life for so long and you've done it for so long and you've been in prep for like 27 weeks, I think it was in the end. I think I just need to give myself a break and go, Charlie, go to the gym when you want to go to the gym. Don't force it, because I think if I force it, I'm going to hate it. So yeah, anyway, I digress there, but yeah.
Well, speaking of digressing, you mentioned mince pie. Never tried it in my life. I kind of forgot what's in it. So what even is a mince pie, coming from an American who's never even tried one?
Oh, I wish I knew. I actually don't know what's in it. Basically, they call it mince, but it's not like meat. It's kind of like currants. So like, I think it's raisins and like a few other currants, but it's in like this like spicy, cinnamony sort of like goo in pastry. It's brilliant. It is so good.
Because I had a Finnish guest on who would eat mincemeat pie, and I was like, first of all, being able to eat meat in a pie sounds like the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my entire life. But then I know in the UK, some people do eat stuff like that too. And I'm going to be completely honest, Charlie, as an American, we don't view the UK as having the best cuisine in the world.
No.
So, yeah, I remember when there was the royal wedding between Kate and Harry, or was it?
Kate and William.
Kate and William. My mom had like a little viewing party with some of her friends, and they tried some cuisine, and they're like, God, this is horrible. This is just like, just to try to have it. But no, so I'm glad that we have a lot more Germans and Italians over here that kind of introduced the hamburgers and the pizzas over here. So, you know, there is that. So the moment you said mince pie, I was like, okay, we got to get to the bottom of this. But yeah, I mean, once you did, that switch does kind of go off. I mean, let's be honest though, you always will sort of have that bodybuilding mentality, at least for a little bit, where it's hard to sort of see yourself not let go, but become more normal again. How have you been dealing with that mentally so far?
I think because I've done it for so long, I think I sort of know what sort of phases I go through generally. I mean, the good thing is I've been so busy since I've stopped competing. I mean, literally got back from Malaga on the Monday after competing. On the Thursday, I was flying out to Dubai with my sponsors for Dubai Muscle Show, and I was there for 4 days, and I've only been back for 9 days. So, in theory, like it's still not been that long. And there's so much going on with at work. Like obviously, I work in recruitment, and this time of year, it's just absolutely manic. I've been catching up with friends. I've been out for dinners, and literally, I've got something on every single day, so I haven't really got time to sit and dwell on it at the minute. I'm going to Bali next Friday for 3 weeks over Christmas. So this is it. Like I'm just so busy that I haven't got into that phase yet. But I think, in terms of struggling, I'm in that phase now where, I'm still pushing it in terms of like, oh, I can have sweets now, I can have chocolate now, I'll have this, I'll have that. So I always call it like the greedy phase. And it's where, I guess it's where you've been deprived so much for so long, and it's like that thing when somebody tells you you can't have something, you want it even more. So I'm still in that phase a little bit. I mean, I'm back at the gym doing cardio sometimes in the morning. I've still been gymming, not a lot, like I haven't been able to get there more than 3 times a week, which is nuts. So still in that phase, but I think after January and after my holiday, I think that's when I'm really going to get some more structure in my life. Like I still want to be healthy, but I want to be like actually healthy. Like I actually want to eat fruit and actually do cardio still, but just not to the extent of bodybuilding. Like I'm quite excited to be normal, but like a fit normal, if that makes sense, and not obsessed with it. But it'll take a bit of time. I'm thinking of maybe getting a counsellor as well, just because I think when you've been bodybuilding 7 years, like I don't know what normal is. Like I really don't know what normal is. I know what binging is, and I know what bodybuilding is. So I'm thinking about that. I'm not too sure about it yet, but I'm going to see how I get on myself, and then maybe speak to somebody about just getting through this phase, because I think when you've been an athlete and you've sort of had that identity, I think this is the key thing. I identify as a bodybuilder. People know me as a bodybuilder, so now that's like not going to be there. I'm going to lose a bit of myself, I think. So, just need to think about what that looks like. I'm going to need something else. I'm going to need a goal. I've got a few ideas springing to mind, but we'll see.
So I have a pro and con list of every single guest that I've had on, and I write down the pros of having them on, the cons of having them on, and you have already lived up to your one con that I have you down, is that I wrote down she will give you wanderlust because she has traveled so much and you have never left the country. So already mentioning that you've already been to Dubai and you're going to Bali is already making me feel bad about the fact that I have never left the country. I mean, I've been to like 40 of the 50 states, but still, I need to get out there more because hearing about all of your adventures is making me extremely jealous right now. Have you always been like this, or is it something that you just picked up later on in life where you've started to travel a lot?
To be fair, like I've always, since been little, like my parents always took me on holidays and stuff. So like I've always loved going on holiday. I think the last couple of years is where like I've really thought, right, I really want to see more of the world and things like that. I mean, I absolutely love America. I've been to Vegas twice. Still my favorite place on earth. Absolutely love it. Will be going there for my hen do when I eventually decide to get engaged. / that's not on me. That's on somebody else. And I am coming to where am I going? At Easter, I am going to go to. So my boyfriend is an identical twin. His brother lives in America, so I'm actually going to go out and see him. So he's in Florida in Destin. So we're gonna go see him, go do a bit of traveling of America. And I always said, like, if I could live anywhere else in the UK, and trust me, like, there's so many reasons why I would want to. The only place I think I could actually settle is America. And I think it's just because, like, I've been to Florida, I've been to Vegas, been to a few other places, Boston, New York. I just love it. I love the people. I love how big it is. I love how much opportunity is there, and I love the weather. Obviously, not in every state, but I think if I
wait, so you're coming in the summer because that's the only time you would ever come up here. Trust me. I mean, look at these eyes are not lying to you, Charley. Do not come here in the winter.
Don't come here.
No, there are times here in the winter where it gets so cold that your gasoline in your car freezes solid, so you can't even go anywhere.
Oh my God. How cold does it actually get?
It's been the record I think that I've is negative 35 degrees Fahrenheit, which is
what?
Which is if you're outside and you're unexposed for I think it's like 30 seconds, you get frostbite.
Oh my days.
It doesn't
to
get
be
like that all the time, but we
bad
always get
weather.
1 or 2 days where it's like negative 15, -20, or we'll usually have 1 week where it's below freezing. Yeah, or I mean where it's below zero. We'll have like 1 week usually in like January or February. But yeah, it's seasonably warm this time of year so far. It's right now it's in the 30s right now, which is it's still freezing, but normally it's a lot colder than that right now. So we're hoping that it might not be. But what normally happens if we have a year like this, it's going to get even more colder come January and February, because people always think it's like, oh, December must be the worst. It's like, no, January and February are by far the worst months. It's not even close to that. So again, yes, if you are coming in the summer, please do that. I have been to Florida once. I went there for high school for our baseball spring training, where we would just go and play teams down there just to, get some work in, because like I said, it's too cold up here. And I was so shocked about all the amount of little geckos that they got running around. And I saw an alligator the first day that I was there, and I was like, okay, only in Florida that you really get to see that. So, there's that. So wait, your boyfriend has a twin. Have they ever messed with you like that, with being the twin?
Do you know what? Like, from day one, I actually could tell them apart. Like, absolutely. When I had a few drinks, I did sometimes from the back get a bit mixed up. But to be fair, my boyfriend Paddy, he's taller, and like wider, like stockier, so I can tell them apart. But yeah, I think it might have crossed their minds to mess around.
Okay, things were almost going to get a little bit weird when you said, when I had a few drinks, I was going to be like, oh God, Charley, what the hell? No, but no, yeah, like I love talking to twins. Have always been one of the most fascinating things in the world to me, just that whole process. So
crazy. It's crazy. But I did always say, if anything ever happens, at least I've got 2 boyfriends at the end of the day. Like, something happens with one, I've got a reserve.
Yeah. Well, speaking of twins, I mean, I had a guest on that she had trouble getting pregnant, and then she got pregnant, and she actually did have twins, even though they told the doctor they only wanted to have one. And I'm going to send you a photo of what she looks like. I mean, I did post about her like a few days ago, but the way that she looks 6 months after having kids, it's not human. Like, it's ridiculous. And she was like, I had her on when she was 8 months pregnant, and she was still like, she still had veins in it. Like, it was ridiculous. So I'm gonna have to share that with you, because the moment you said twins, I was like, okay, I gotta give Ashley a shout out, for that. But we gotta talk about your shows, because you play second in a show, and then let's be honest. Let's talk about the first show first off, because you got second, and we talked about it a little bit before we started recording. And now that you're done competing, you can kind of like give your honest opinion. But like, you should have won that first show. It's ridiculous that you didn't. What was the feedback that you get? What was that like?
It's hard, right? Because I'm very self-aware. I know what I look like. I judge as well, so I know what I'm looking at. I've done it a long time. My coach said I looked really, really good. There's a lot of people that I trust in terms of how I look. And I always go off what other people say, I guess, because third eye and all that. But I also go off the pictures and what I look like in the pictures, and you don't get them till much later. I was disappointed. I was frustrated. But I was disappointed more than anything, and I think it's just because I knew what I looked like as well. And I think with bodybuilding, people think it's like a tick box exercise. Who's got the biggest glutes? Who's got the biggest shoulders? And it should be, believe me, because the results would be a lot different with some people. But it's not. Like, it's literally a case of, right, people walk out, pick your favourite 6, and then they all go to the middle. Those 6 or whatever get called out, and then you rank them 1 to 6, and it's all based on what you like best. And I think as well, same judges. I've been on the circuit a long time. You just don't know. Like, at the end of the day, it's opinion. At the end of the day, of however many judges, it's 10 opinions. It's not fact. And I think that's, as a bodybuilder, you've got to be so headstrong and know that. Like, you don't need approval. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what bodybuilding is. You're just fishing for somebody's approval that actually has no impact on your life, really. So yeah, was disappointed with the first one, but it is what it is. I sort of got over that quite quickly. I was quite happy with the package that I brought, obviously. I think the second one, I didn't have any words for it. I think as soon as I came off, I saw my coach, and I'll be honest, at first I thought something had happened. Like, I thought I'd watered over. Like, I literally thought, oh my days, like, what's happened? Have I spilled on carbs? And my coach came up to me straight away, and I was like, what happened? Did I look shit? Like, it was the first thing that I said to him. And then I felt really bad afterwards because I thought, well, no, I clearly didn't. But obviously, I can't see when I'm on stage. There isn't a mirror there, so it's not as if I can see. And I was just like, what went wrong? And my coach said, I don't know. Like, Charlie, I really don't know. And speaking to a few other people straight away, and the main things that got said to me were, it's an international show. You're retiring soon. Would it be an international show if people didn't come internationally? And all that stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to be very diplomatic about it, as you can tell. I could phrase it in a different way, but I kind of feel like I'm above that, really. But yeah, basically it was just one of them things that, like, at the end of the day, as soon as I got moved out the middle, I was always not going to place. And I knew on stage, as soon as I got moved into the middle and then moved back out, I thought, and I thought, it did run through my mind, shall I just walk off? Like, I know I haven't placed, I judge. But then I thought, nah, do you know what? Like, I'll hold my head up high. It's my last show. I want my pictures. And I could have had an excuse. I could have sat there and gone, oh, yeah, it's because my knee was swollen. I technically did my routine with one leg. I was hobbling around 2 days before. But it had nothing to do with that. You couldn't even see that on stage. So I think it's one of them things. What I would say is it happens to all of us at some point. So sometimes you do get knocked off your high horse or your horse in general, or in my case, you do when you break a collarbone. But the main thing I've learned from it is I don't need approval from somebody to know how I look, because I'm not blind, and I'm also probably the most self-critical person ever. So hopefully that's a good summary.
Oh my God, absolutely. And plus, you were already saying stuff that I wish I could say, but I can't because I still, host this show. But speaking of routines, you are up for Routine of the Year, and I voted on it. It was a great routine. What went into that? How did you come up with the routine? Because honestly, with that routine, the fact that you placed the way that you placed was probably the most shocking thing to me.
The thing is, in this federation, the routines don't actually get judged. So in some federations, the routines are first, and then it's comparisons. But in this federation, like, your routine is just your routine, so you don't even get marks on it. And this is
honestly, though, what's the point of the routine then if you're not even going to get judged on it?
I don't know. I think it's mainly just for people's pictures and stuff. It's silly, really, because obviously for somebody like myself, who that's the favourite part, it's frustrating, really. But yeah, for me, I used to be a dancer, didn't I? So for me, this is my favourite part. I always love picking a sad song. I think the difference, really, though, between when I started and now is I actually pose now as well as do other stuff, because when I first started, I just used to do a full-on dance routine, barely any poses, because I didn't really have a very good physique, to be honest, looking back. So now it's a lot more posing. And I think as well, I do girls' routines now. Like, a lot of girls come to me asking for the routines. Obviously, I've got to be quite selective because my style doesn't suit everybody, and you've got to have coordination to have a routine from me anyway. But yeah, I do that for girls, and there's a lot of girls that won this year that did a good routine. Like I say, it's not judged in a lot of feds. But yeah, and it's sort of, it's really frustrating, Ryan, because I won my pro card, and I got told that, if you get this pro card, you can't compete with other federations. And I was like, oh, okay, fair enough, it is what it is. I found out 4 weeks before my show that I could have competed with other feds, and part of me was kicking myself because I thought, oh my God, I could have tried fitness, which is obviously routine and posing, which is so my bag. But it was too late. Like, I'd already had a plan. Like, I didn't want to rush, and I didn't prepare for it. It's slightly different posing, IFBB and whatnot. And I just thought, yeah, I wish you'd have shouted about that, because I could have at least tried something else. But oh well, is what it is.
So wait, why did they tell you that you couldn't, and then you found out that you could? Was it just they didn't interpret the rules right, or what was that all about?
So that was the rule, and then decided to change the rules. Really, I don't know if it's because obviously you could have lost a lot of people to compete in, because a lot of people want to try different federations. Like, at the end of the day, most people are IFBB. A lot of them want to go down that route, and I'm gutted that I haven't tried it, to be honest. I think I'd have done quite well in IFBB. Especially in fitness. I feel like if I'd have really worked on that and gone back to gymnastics, because I've already got the foundations there, I could have really done well in that, and I'd have loved it. Having costumes and dancing, like, that is so me. And I'm a little bit gutted I haven't done that, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
What's the one thing that you're most looking forward to in retirement now?
The one thing, that's hard because there is so many things. I would probably say just the freedom. You know, I'm quite lucky in the sense of I've done it for so long. You know, my close friends, my family, they only really know me as Charlie who preps meals and Charlie who has meals with her and Charlie who doesn't drink and you know all that stuff and Charlie who gyms twice a day. So I think you know I'm looking forward to actually being able to give more of myself to people, you know, because I've, you know, not that I've neglected friends and my boyfriend and stuff like that, but, you know, I haven't been able to give them all of me because, you know, all of me has been in prep. You can't go into bodybuilding half-assed or 50%. You've got to be all in. So, you know, I've missed out on giving. You know, I'm quite a giving person. You know, I'm a loving person, and I like to do things for people. You know, like go out and go see them and go for coffee and drinks and you know do nice things. So I think it's just being able to actually be there for the people in my circle because you know at the end of the day that in life that is the most important you know and I'm quite lucky, God bless, that you know nothing drastic has happened within that circle because that you know would have been crazy, but you know I think giving myself actually more to the people that I care about is probably the biggest thing I'm looking forward to, and not missing out on things like being a bridesmaid at my friend's wedding and not being able to drink and you know the holidays. You know, yeah, I could have gone on holiday in prep and traveling, but who the hell wants to do that? I don't want to spend my time in a gym when I'm actually want to go see a country, you know, and travel it and have fun. So yeah, definitely the finer things in life.
Well, speaking of it, how the hell do you plan on celebrating Christmas in Bali? What's that going to be like?
Well, I do love going away at Christmas for two reasons. Well, for a multitude of reasons. First one, England is crap over Christmas. I think Christmas is just boring. You know, everybody's off work. It's miserable. The weather's terrible, and it's such like an anticlimax. And also, like, I don't have kids yet. Yes, I've got a puppy. He's going to his grandpa and granddad's. He's going to have loads of fun. But yeah, it's like it's that one time of the year where you get so much leave, but there's like nothing to do. So for the last couple of years, I've been away. So when we did our first podcast, I went to Sri Lanka and the Maldives. That was amazing. Last year, I went to Cape Verde, and that was quite nice because it was actually my mum and dad, my boyfriend, his mum and dad, and my brother and his girlfriend. So that was like a family holiday. So that was quite nice, and that was quite Christmassy as well. And this year, yeah, Bali and the Philippines. So we're spending a week in Bali and then flying to the Philippines on Christmas Eve, and then spending Christmas and New Year in the Philippines. But it doesn't feel like Christmas, I'll be honest. Like when you're there, like we won't have Christmas dinners, we won't really probably might not even see a Christmas tree. Yeah, we'll still have drinks and stuff and it'll be fun, but it's not like Christmas. It's just more the fact that we can literally be away for 3 weeks and everybody else is sat at home freezing cold. So
wait, how much leave do you get from your job for the holidays?
So I break off on the 15th and I don't go back till the 2nd. So quite a lot. It's good.
I forget that people outside of the U.S. actually have employers that actually care about their vacation stuff. So we get Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off, and then some companies give you New Year's Eve off, but everyone else gives you New Year's Day off. So we only get 3 days off.
Yeah,
that whole time period.
I think as well, because I work in education recruitment, obviously the schools are closed. So, you know, they normally when the kids are off school, we would be working. And I have had to save up my leave for this period. But, you know, it's the one period where schools are actually closed. You know, when it's like the summer holidays and stuff, there's still quite a lot to do. You've got something else. But Christmas is like kind of like lockdown, really. So it works out really well. I'm quite blessed in that sense.
Well, I'll just tell you, my last job gave us 2 weeks off a year. And those well, here's the thing. Here's what makes it even worse. Those also count as sick days too. So if you use a sick day, that would count as your vacation too.
Wow, who do you work for?
I'm not even going to mention it, but that's pretty average in the U.S. We don't really do sick days too much, which is why we're all kind of crazy and all these headlines that you say only in America. Well, overworked has a part to play for it.
I don't think I've had a sick day in the last maybe 10 years. And the annoying thing is, like last year, I broke off work fine, on the plane, started getting sick, got to Cape Verde. On Christmas Day, I was so ill that I couldn't even stand up. Like, it felt like somebody had stabbed me in the back, and I was this close to having pneumonia. So, like, I always get sick when I'm actually, like, off work. It's so annoying, but yeah, I've never had a sick day, so...
Oh, the one thing that pisses me off the most is that I will tend to get sick normally around, like, a Thursday or Friday, and then I won't take work off because it's like already close to the weekend, and then I'll spend the entire weekend then just sick the whole weekend. So then, and then I'll magically be fine by Monday, but then it's like, oh, I ruined an entire weekend, which has happened to me multiple times. So let's not talk about that anymore because it's already depressing me enough as it is, and I'm already getting clogged up enough as it is. But luckily, I don't have to go into work today. But just with this whole journey that you've been through, I mean, like you said, 7 years competing, that is such a long period of time. What are some things that you think you'll take away from this experience that you've had in your life?
I definitely think the structure. I think you're a different machine when you're on prep. Like when I'm on prep, I could be doing 1,000 things and I will still get them all done. And when I'm not in prep, it's pretty much the opposite. I'm like, oh my days, I've got too much to do. Come up with all these excuses. So I think the main key thing I'm definitely going to take on board and take away is just the structure. Like I don't think you can put a price on health and being happy in your own skin. And being in shape. At the end of the day, when you're in good shape and you eat well, you're going to live longer. You're going to be able to do more. And you only get one body, right? So you've got to look after it. So I definitely think the all this stuff I've learned on nutrients and macros and dieting and how to get lean and the importance of cardio and structure. All of that, and like the whole process of prep, I'm probably going to take away. I just think that killing yourself to the point where as a female you lose your menstrual cycle, and that can be quite dangerous, and all the other added bits that come with it. I'm definitely not going to be taking them on board. Just the healthy side of it, the structure, the health, the fitness, and I just love being lean. So if I take away anything from it, it'll just be abs all year round, Charlie. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, please, like, if you were to tell me that, like, yeah, I'm still going to train just as hard and I'm going to do everything except compete, I'd be like, okay, that's not, because I've had some people that have actually told me that, and I was like, well, then what's the point then of just not even, like, just getting ready for that stage? Because some people, I believe it or not, and I was shocked to hear this, were just like, yeah, I'm just going to do everything except not compete, and it's like, so you're going to basically be killing yourself just for no reason, then basically slowly, but so, yeah, there's that, but...
Not healthy. I think, don't get me wrong, like at the end of the day, I'm a sponsored athlete. My sponsors are brilliant. Like they fly me out here, there and everywhere. Poland last year, Dubai this year. I'm actually going to FIBA in Germany in April. So the thing is, the good thing is I've got things to stay in shape for. So I'm not dumb. My coach is always going to be there. Like he's not just a coach. I've been with him 7 years. He's a friend as well. I know for a fact, like if I'm 8 weeks out from going to one of these events, I can check in with him and go, Dan, what do I look like? I've got 8 weeks, and he'll just go, do this, do this, do this. I could probably do it myself, but I think sometimes when you're accountable, you just do it more. So yeah, I've got reasons to stay in shape. Holidays with my sponsor. Like at the end of the day, I don't want to be out of shape when I'm going to these events, because you definitely do better in those events, and you have a better time when you're leaner because people want pictures with you, which is amazing.
Well, and you got to be in shape for your wedding too, whenever that happens. Wink, wink.
Whenever that happens, yeah, and all of that as well. So yeah, definitely still going to be like within it, if that makes sense. But I also, there's a couple of things I do want to explore. Like I really want to start pushing and going into fitness modeling, and that's something I've wanted to do for a long, long time, but I've just never had the ability or the time to be able to do it. And also, like with fitness modeling, it's not bodybuilding shredded. Nobody wants a girl that's bodybuilding shredded. So I've actually got the time to be able to do that. So I've had loads of pictures done. I've done quite a few photo shoots, video shoots, all sorts of stuff, which is good. Like I'm building a portfolio, so I'm looking to explore that in the new year. And at the end of the day, bodybuilding costs money. Like it doesn't make you money. And for me, I'm all about earning money, passive income, different lines of income. And if I can get that by literally just being myself, happy days.
Absolutely. I saved this here for later on the podcast. Dubai, we got to talk about it. Like you just said, you were able to fly out there and go to a conference and an expo. And what was that whole experience like? Because Dubai is just a completely different part of the world.
It was incredible. I mean, I've never been to Dubai. I am going in May because I'm taking Paddy, my partner, for his 30th. Like that was always on the cards. I was always going to take him there.
How much do you travel? Jesus Christ!
I've been saving up all my pennies, and I'll also 7 years of bodybuilding. Like you've got to think I've got 7 years worth of missing out on stuff to catch up on. So that was always on the cards. So literally, when I said, "Oh my God, my sponsors are paying for me to go to Dubai for the expo," he was like, "Oh my days!" He's so jealous. But it was unreal. Like I love Las Vegas. I think Las Vegas is the best thing since sliced bread. Dubai is very similar in terms of how big it is, how bright it is, how vibrant it is. The people were unreal. Like, it was so busy. There was so many people, like, just walking on the street and all sorts. But everyone was just so nice. And also, I didn't see one person out of shape. And obviously at the expo, fair enough, that was a bodybuilding expo, but I actually didn't. Like, everybody was like in shape. Like, all the supermarkets had like loads of healthy stuff in, loads of healthy food prep shops, loads of supplement shops. Like, everybody really cares about how they look, which I really liked, because I was like, no, that's brilliant. Like, everybody seems to spare each other on, which is mint. The gyms were out of this world. Like, I've never seen gyms like that. The indoor outdoor area in a gym, you had a smoothie place, a food place, a supplement place, all in one umbrella, which was crazy. You can tell obviously there's so much money there. It's ridiculous. And it's so safe. Like, me and the girl from one of the girls from Olymp, we were walking back from the expo quite late at night. Obviously, it was dark. There was still so many people around, but we were walking for 30 minutes and didn't feel unsafe once, like, at all. So it was so eye-opening. It was so eye-opening. And I think as well, like, the expo itself was just incredible. Like, I had somebody come up to me actually and do a little bit of an interview, and he knew my whole life story. And I was like, oh my days. Like, it was so surreal, but I literally felt like a celebrity. And that was the nicest bit about it. I think it was so good. Like, I met so many people, and I think that whole piece of, people want to speak to you and, they want to get photos with you. That was like the cherry on the cake, really. I thought bodybuilding's led me to this point. And that's the thing of like the whole thing that I'm probably most proud of. But yeah, it was hard work. Pretty much got there on the Thursday and then worked all day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then literally flew back to England Monday 2 a.m. So yeah, crazy. But yeah, it was amazing.
Do they have gambling in Dubai?
I didn't see any.
Well, then you can't compare it to Vegas. Come on, Charley.
Well, true. Different kettle of fish. But no, it was eye-opening. Yeah. It really was. I'm excited to go back and actually like see everything.
And they don't have Adele there too. Let's be completely honest. So again, another. No, but I've heard so many good things about Dubai as well. A lot of people go there, and I've even had a few guests that have actually moved there full time. So yeah, I might want to travel there if I'm being clear. I mean, there are definitely like 5 or 10 different places that I'd want to go to first, but it's definitely something that I might look into, but I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, I'm glad that you're able to have that and travel. But yeah, just the amount, again, I always keep forgetting to being an American where Canada and Mexico are the two closest things to me. Cuba, which they won't let you go to still, or I think you'd have to like pull some strings to go to, but like, yeah, we don't have that much for travel options because there's a big sea dividing us. So whenever I talk to guests from Europe, I got to remember that like, Europe is basically like the size of the United States. So it's basically like me driving to a different state, basically, and then you're going to a whole different country. So there is that. But yeah, and just with everything that you've taken from the sport and everything, like you talked about the evolution of the sport too, we got to talk about that too as well. From 7 years, what were some of the bigger changes that you saw? I mean, like you said, the place that you competed in wasn't even around when you first started, but what were some of the other biggest things that you've really noticed in the 7 years from when you first started to now?
Obviously the amount of competitors, bodybuilding, there was still a lot. In 2017 when I won Miss Britain, there was 36 girls in my class. So when I first started in 2016, there was smaller shows, NABBA was a really big deal back then as well. The standard has been a massive shift. I look at the class I used to compete in turn figure, and I look at it today, and it's like, it's pretty much athletic compared to back then. So, it was a lot softer. It was a lot softer look. So the looks evolved massively. And also, like, the venues, like the first couple of shows I did were in little town halls. There wasn't even a photographer. There was no such thing as a posing coach. Like, that wasn't even around. My male coach taught me how to pose. The posing was so different as well. There was no transitions and all this stuff. Like, that just wasn't around. The tan, don't get me started on the tan. When we first started, it was like this little pot of dream tan, they called it. And it was like paste. You used to put it on. It was oil-based. Use a paint roller to roller it on because it used to move the tan. That was horrendous. So that was great when that changed. Makeup artists, again, weren't really a thing. Everyone just did their own thing. And even the classes, like, there was no 10,000 different bikini classes like there is now. So I think it's just gone from being this big to this big. Even my coach, I was speaking to my coach actually when we was in Malaga, and I was like, do you remember when I first came to you, you wrote my first diet plan on a piece of paper? Like, even just evolving online, and all the things coaches do now is crazy. So yeah, I'd say in every single area it has just increased by 10. It's just been a real transition. And as well with the girls, like I met up with a girl that used to compete with in I used to compete with in 2016, 2017. She moved to Dubai when COVID happened, so she's still there. So I met up with her there. Looked back at old pictures, it was crazy. But when we used to compete, it was it was a laugh. Like, we used to literally drink like full bottle of wine backstage, and we would just get drunk, and it was such a laugh. It was an absolute riot. Whereas now it's like all very serious. And don't get me wrong, I like the serious stuff. I know we're there to do a job and stuff like that, and I am very much like that myself. But even the change in that, where it was just let's all have fun, it's not like that anymore. Like, it is very much everybody wants to win, and at the end of the day, why would you do bodybuilding if you didn't want to win? Like, everybody wants to win, of course they do, but it's just a bit more. What's the word? Everyone stays in their own lane now and doesn't tend to have much fun with it. But yeah, loads of changes.
If you could go back to 7 years ago, what would you change about your journey? Or if you would change anything?
I'm not one of these who would change anything, to be honest, Ryan.
Okay. I just got to interrupt you there. Whenever someone says I'm not one of those people, you would change something about it. Like, I've even said that myself. I was like, oh, I wouldn't change anything in my past. BS. I would change something just for the sake of being able to change it, just to see what would happen.
I would have done IFBB. I would have done IFBB because I think if I'd have done that, when I was starting to get good at bodybuilding, maybe 2016, 2017, I could have been in a completely different place right now if that had gone well. So yeah, actually, you're right. No, I would change something, and that would be I would have given IFBB a go. The only reason why I didn't was because this is actually my own fault, really. I was just listening to too many people at the time saying, don't do it, it's really political. But everyone could say that about every federation, trust me, like they really could. And I don't know why. I think being young, I just listened to it and I just assumed that they weren't a good federation, they didn't look after their athletes, and all this stigma. Like, I was just listening to the wrong people. So I wish I'd have not listened to them and actually gone and done it for myself. Because I believe that wholeheartedly in my life now. Like, I always make my own choices. So I wish back then I would have actually listened to what I'm like now and gone, no, Charlie, you want to do it, go give it a go.
Do you have any like mental tricks or anything prepared for if you ever do get that itch again to want to compete, to just like tell yourself like, no, I'm staying retired? Because I've there's one guest where I'm not even going to mention their name, but it's the running joke that they say they're going to retire, and it's happened 4 times now, where then I'll have them on the next year and then they'll be like, yeah, I'm getting ready for, so it's the 4th time. So and they're probably going to do it the 5th time too. But like, it's my joke that I keep telling them. It's like, you keep telling me that you're going to retire and I'll still have you on, but I know that you're going to be competing the next time I send you a message on Instagram or I text you saying like, hey, you want to come back on? Then every time she's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm getting ready to compete again. So do you have anything prepared for if that ever does hit you, or are you not completely 100% against maybe a few years down the line, or where are you at on that?
Do you know what? My boyfriend feels like he knows me better than I know me. I don't think he does, but he reckons in a few years I'll do an IFBB show. I don't. And I think I'll stay in shape. And don't get me wrong, I think if I keep my hand in judging, I think that's the only thing that'll give me the itch. So am I going to keep judging? I don't know. Like, the main things I want to keep on with really is obviously my sponsors. Like, I absolutely love that, staying in shape for them, the fitness modeling side of things. So I think if I gravitate to more towards that side of things, I don't think I will dip my toe back in. And I'm one of these, when I've said I'm going to do something, I do it. So I've said that I'm going to retire, so I'm going to retire. I can keep myself busy. One of my work colleagues actually said a few weeks ago, I can see you doing boxing. And I thought, do you know what? Like, I used to do boxing when I was little, and I've got a bit of a temper. I can't let my hands go. I thought maybe I should do boxing, but then I thought, nah, I don't want to mess my face up that much. Is there any boxing where I can punch, but they can't punch me? But no, there isn't. So yeah, I think you never know. I could move into something else. The world's my oyster, really, Ryan. So no, I've said I'm retiring. So I am retiring, no matter how stubborn I am, no matter what comes my way, I'm sticking to my decision.
Cut to 2 years later, I'll have an Instagram post where we'll say, Charley, making her pro. No, I'm joking. But like you mentioned before that the bodybuilding look and the fitness model look are two completely different looks. How do you plan on training differently for those? Obviously, like you said, you're not going to take it probably to as much of an extreme with your diet, but what other ways are you thinking that it's going to be different as preparing for a fitness model shoot as opposed to a bodybuilding show?
I think a lot of it is just going to be like the less output, really. Like, especially in the off season, God, I was pushing in the gym so hard. And I think I love training hard. Like, I definitely aren't going to change that. But one thing I am going to do more of, just so I don't keep pushing that boundary, because I really don't want to get any bigger, to be honest. I like being petite, is doing more supersets. So not going for that heavy volume. Yeah, still going heavy 100%, but doing a lot more drop sets and supersets, which obviously is going to make me burn more calories and stuff like that. So I think that's the adaptation I'm going to take to my training. Obviously, maybe not even going 5 times a week, going 4 times a week. Still keeping my steps up and a little bit of cardio when I feel like it, even if it's 20, 25, 30 minutes. But I think the diet's the biggest thing, really. I think the thing I'm going to do differently is, instead of being told what to eat and what to weigh, take my calories, that's like my maintenance, for example, for let's say this weight, and work from that. And if I think I'm looking a bit on the chunkier side and I've got a photo shoot, take 200 calories off, but manage it around what I want to eat, but making sure I'm having my good fats and stuff and my fruit that I was missing out on. And yeah, if I want a cupcake and that's in there, absolutely. But at the minute, I'm pretty much doing what I want. So hopefully I don't take it too far and then you don't see me on like World's Fattest Loser or whatever the program's called.
Well, before we do wrap things up, this question means a whole different new meaning now, because I ask this to every guest that comes on, no matter how many times they come on. If there was one thing, but I'm going to erase the one thing now. So what are some things that you would like to see changed in the sport of bodybuilding, just as an observer, as a judge, if you were given the all-knowing power and they said, you know what, Charley, you can change the sport however you want it to be changed and we'll go along with it?
I would say there needs to be independent judging. So, it shouldn't be the same judges at every single show. I don't think that's right. When you watch boxing with judges, it's never the same judges for every single match. They change at every match. So I think, independent judging panels are really important, or at least, changing it around a little bit, because same things, same people, some judges have got, real, without realizing, they've got a real unconscious bias because, maybe they've seen people loads, or maybe they're friends with people outside of it, or maybe I don't know, they've done a bit of posing with them, whatever it is, there's something. So I think independent judging's a big one. Judges that don't know the athletes, which kind of is like when you go into a courtroom, right? The jury can't know the person. I think that's really important, so you're not biased. I also think like the criteria as well. Like every federation's got a criteria, but never once is the criteria like there and compared to when it's actually like on stage. So I think, when it comes to judging, the criteria should be there in black and white in front of you when every class comes on to go, who fits this criteria? Because I think people forget. And then they have their own idea of what it should look like when it's not actually written. Because so many people now go, that person was really hard though and they won, and they were, really, really big and they won. What is the criteria? And that's what you get asked a lot as a judge. So I think that needs to be clearer. And I think that needs to be adhered to massively. And I think as well, just like looking after the athletes as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm quite lucky. All the federations I've competed in, I've really enjoyed it. Like, they do put on a really good show and things like that. But I also think, there are some federations that just take and don't give. Like when I won the British finals in 2017, I won £1,000. Whereas now the winner of a pro class wins 1,500, and that's like 6 years on. And it's like, and it's one of them really. Like, I think the prize money for athletes could always be better. It's an expensive sport at the end of the day, and just investing in the athletes, because I've just seen it go from costing £10 to enter a show, hundreds of pounds now, and it's like, it's just you're sort of making it out the reach of people that do want to try it and give it a go. So I'd say the judging criteria, independent panels, and the last thing that I just said that I forgot about.
No, and money too. Yeah. That's the last thing you said. And so, and In a year from now, where would you like to be at in your life? What are some goals you'd like to have achieved? Where would you like to be at in a year?
In a year's time, God, the years go so quick. Every year for me has to be better than the last year. Now I just need to take bodybuilding out of the equation. I'd like to be up there in terms of fitness modeling. Like, I'd like to have a few contracts, have a really good agent under my belt. My ultimate goal, I mean, I don't think this will happen in a year, but you never know. My goal and my, ambition would be to work with really big brands. So like the likes of Under Armour or Nike, they're really big ambitions, but all the stepping stones to get there. So to be on that path massively. To also be way higher up in my job, I always try and push for that every single year in terms of like work outside. And also, like, I want a bigger house. Me and my boyfriend have just set up a limited company because we're going to buy property. It's just a really crap time to buy at the minute. So our goals with that is to basically, we want to retire at 40. So I've got 12 years.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I've got 12 years. So we're looking at investing in property, obviously growing that every single year to get to a point where our properties bring us so much money that we don't need to work and we can do what the hell we want. So really focusing on the financial aspect of life. So yeah, I think this time next year, be on the property ladder and actually have a few different properties. I'm already on it, but I mean in terms of the business, higher up in my career, but in terms of fitness goal related, still be shredded, still have abs, still be happy, and fitness modeling, hopefully be pushing that really. And you never know, a lot of people have asked me to start a YouTube channel.
Do it. Do it.
Yeah.
Here's the only advice that I will give you though. So many people, when they start their YouTube channel, they'll post 5 YouTube videos within like a span of a month and they'll get pissed that they aren't getting any views and they'll stop. You have to keep going, keep plugging this. This podcast didn't become anything until after like 2 years. And it still isn't really that much, but still, like, people, I see so many times when they're just about to hit that, where they're starting to get more and more traction, then they quit because they're like, oh, I don't have like 100,000 subscribers yet. And I've been doing it for like 2 months. And it's like, that happens to 0.0001% of people that do this. So many times people like, they're just about to take off and then they stop posting videos. And I'm like, okay, and then they're like, oh, it just takes too much time and it's not getting too much traction. It's like, unless you're like a celebrity that is already so well known, you're not going to get traction really, unless you post like the greatest video of all time that just the algorithm just eats up. And that happened for one of my videos where it had no intention of being that popular and it got over like 1 million views. That's the only reason that I really took off a little bit myself. But yeah, it's an incredible amount. But do it. I think you have a great perspective, being that you've judged and you've been this lifestyle and that you also are going to be a fitness model. I think it would be great to see some of the content that you would put out.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I definitely don't get me wrong, I feel like I'm quite creative, but I definitely, need to stop using my iPhone because I feel like that won't make a good video. So probably do a bit of investment in getting like some actually good vlogging equipment, but also editing. Like, I have not the biggest clue on editing, but I love learning, right? So I'm gonna do a bit of that. So yeah, I might consider that. We'll see. I think it's always the fear of the unknown sometimes, isn't it? Is will people like the content I'm gonna put out? Is it gonna be interesting enough? But could do it, but yeah, might take it up. We'll see.
You mentioned the E word, and editing is the worst thing that I hate more than life itself. If I could just publish these the way they are, I would, without even blinking. But unfortunately, I set a precedent when I started editing these, where now if I don't edit them, then people will get mad because then they'll say, why aren't you editing these? Oh my God, Charlie. That's the reason why I only release like 1 or 2 of these a week now, as opposed to like I could easily be doing 4 or 5 of these if I just literally, as soon as we're done talking, if I literally just copy and pasted it and then posted it. Editing sucks. But some people like it. Like, I'm going to be honest, some people do like it. I think it's all right, but it's so time consuming. An edit for an hour video, that's like 8 hours basically that you got to put into it. So that's the only really thing I have with that. And I mean, it's funny, you plan to retire by the time you're 40. I just plan on working until I have that sweet, sweet heart attack that just sends me on my way. I can't wait for it. So, that's where I'm at right now, Charlie. So I couldn't think of a better way to end the podcast than like with that. But again, everyone, go and check Charlie out. I'll leave a link to all of her stuff down below. And, you will still get inspired to get off that couch and stop eating all those Twinkies. But again, Charlie, third time, I can honestly remember from the first time I had you on, I was like, okay, she's going to be on a lot more times because you're just an absolute delight to talk to. And I'd still like to talk to you again one more time before we even find out what you're doing with else in your life. And I mean, again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No, no worries. I absolutely love it. And I think, I just, yeah, I think for anybody that, is thinking of taking up bodybuilding, like, just give it a go. Like, at the end of the day, everybody can try it, and just don't let it eat up your life, because trust me, you'll regret it.
I'll second that as well myself, just not even for non-bodybuilding stuff, but yeah. And again, you guys, go and check her out. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.